Hey guys, Chris Cookin' Nashville here. Today we have one of Ash's favorites, salmon.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a way that she loves when I do salmon, and you guys asked for it, so I'm going to show you how we do the salmon. It's absolutely incredible, and you can see I've served it with that hollandaise sauce that I showed you guys how to do. Now, all the seasonings are always optional. You can modify this however you want, but this is the way we like it. So I'm going to have her taste it, and we're going to see what she thinks.
All right, roll up my sleeves. Time to go to work. Salmon is so well cooked. Cut it with a fork. I mean, it's just soft and it's tender. Let's see here.
She loves salmon. She always loves salmon.
The salmon, oh, they're not words. They're not words. I do love Chris's salmon. He makes it for me all the time because it is one of my favorites. This salmon in particular, so good. It is literally like you put it in your mouth and you get that kind of zesty of the lemon with the hollandaise sauce on top. You can kind of get that cream all at the same time. So it's like zesty, it's creamy. The salmon itself is like perfectly cooked. Like you literally put it in your mouth and it just melts. And it's just so nice and it's so good and it's so tasty. I always love when Chris makes salmon, so no surprise, but this just tops it. Like I go out, sometimes and, order salmon at certain restaurants and always disappointed. I'm like, oh, it's not like Chris's salmon, but I just can't get over how good it is. All the flavors, how great and like perfectly it's cooked.
One of the things that I do is I do not overcook salmon. I know a lot of people like their salmon more well done, and that's fine. I mean, I cook ours like a medium rare. It's not rare like raw in the center, but it's definitely like much less cooked than anything you get at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Because it's so good that way.
It's still moist for one. It's not dry. And then like, again, it just, I think helps all the flavors of everything to kind of come through with it. So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, the salmon is incredible. I think everyone should honestly give this a shot. It's a super easy recipe. It's simple. Salmon is delicious. It's just amazing. But yeah, the way that you've done this, like just the flavor combination of it all, and then how well it's cooked, it's just next level, man. Like it's so much better than anything you would ever get at a restaurant. It's just so pretty, and like the colors, and like I mean, just all of it. I mean, it just looks gorgeous. I'm like, wow.
I also am going to show you guys how you can decide, depending on how well done you want your salmon, how you can decide when you want to go ahead and pull it out of the oven.
Yeah.
So that it is not going to be overcooked. And that way you don't have to try to rely on a timer, which is affected by how thick the salmon is. And you don't have to try to figure things out with a temperature probe. Like it's really, really simple. And you can decide how well done do you want your salmon, and you can just roll with it. So she likes it. Let me show you guys how we make this amazing lemon salmon. Number one, we need to open up some salmon. I have an entire side of some Canadian salmon here that is absolutely beautiful, nice and fresh. I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. I'm going to lay this on parchment paper on a baking sheet. If you need to clean it up a little bit, wipe it dry, you can. Make sure you have a good fresh piece of salmon to do this with, and of course wash your hands. And we're going to take some coarse salt. You can use any kind of salt that you want, but I'm going to salt this fairly heavily because this is going to be the only seasoning the salmon is going to get. So don't make it too salty, but definitely be generous enough with the salt for it to taste fantastic. You can season this any way you want from this point forward. I'm going to use garlic powder, onion powder, and black pepper. And I'm using about a half teaspoon of each, but there's no exact measurements here. Season this the way that you want. I'm just sprinkling these on from up high so that I don't get any big clumps of the seasoning because these are powdered. You can use other herbs if you want, whatever it is you would like, but I'm going to do this garlic, onion, black pepper combo that I like so much, and you can see I have a nice coating on the salmon. Now, this is going to be a lemon salmon, so I'm going to get myself a fresh lemon, and Mel's hanging out in the kitchen with me today. I'm going to go ahead and sharpen up my knife a little bit, and that way I can get some really nice thin slices. So I'm going to top and tail the lemon just so it's easier to work with, and then I'm going to start cutting thin slices. You don't have to cut these as thin as I am, but the thinner you cut these, the easier it is to cover your piece of salmon with the lemon. So I'm going to slice the entire lemon up just like that, and then I'm going to start taking these slices and preparing to lay them on the salmon. Now I decided last minute to add a little bit of dried dill to the salmon as well. I think that's a really nice flavor. You can do that. You don't have to. I put about 1/4 teaspoon across there, just a little bit to give it that herby flavor. And then I'm going to take the end of the lemon, which was a little bit thicker, and I'm just going to squeeze the lemon juice over the salmon. And then I'm going to lay these slices of lemon across the salmon. This is going to do two things. One, it will season the salmon with that beautiful lemon flavor. But two, it's actually going to protect the salmon in the oven so that it does not dry out. It's going to keep it nice and moist and give us that zesty flavor as the lemon is steaming and making the fish extremely tender and extremely tasty. So I'm going to lay all of my lemon slices out just like this over top of my spices, and then I'm going to take my beautifully lemon latticed piece of salmon. I'm going to slide this into the refrigerator, and you can do this a day ahead of time if you want. I'm just going to put that in the refrigerator, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on my oven now. I'm going to preheat this to 475 degrees. That's going to give us a little bit of color around the edges of the salmon, give the dog some scratches while we're waiting for the oven to heat up. And then as soon as we hear the oven beep and it is preheated, we can go ahead and pull the salmon straight out of the fridge, and we're just going to very carefully slide this in on the middle area rack of an oven. So I'm going to go ahead and close the oven door. I'm going to set a timer for 13 minutes to start with. Now we're going to check on this. We're not going to just time it. We're actually going to check and see that it's cooked perfectly before we pull it out. So I'm going to show you how to do that. After 13 minutes, we turn off the timer. We're going to open up the oven and we're going to pull it out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look right here along the sides. You can see the grain of the fish. I'm going to start pushing. Right now it is soft and spongy, so I know it needs to go back in. But what I'm looking for is for the salmon to start to separate. So I'm going to put it in another 4 minutes. I'm going to guess another 4 will be plenty. After 4 minutes, I'm going to pull this back out and check again. And now it's a little hard to see, but I'm pushing in the center and I can feel it's firm. And then here on the sides, you can see it's starting to separate where my finger's pushing there. When the salmon starts to flake in the center, we know that it's done. So you can see it there on the edge, but when it starts to do that right in the very center, we know that it's done. If you want it well done, just keep going a little further. Now, once this is out of the oven, all I need to do is pull off my lemon slices. I can cut a slice of this off, put this on a plate. I'm going to add my blender hollandaise, which I've linked below in case you haven't seen that one yet. And it is going to be time to serve this amazing, beautiful salmon. I guarantee it's the best you're ever going to have. All right, guys, that is the lemon salmon. Ash is digging into it. Mine's over on the stove getting cold. This is our dinner tonight. So I'm gonna go ahead and plate some of this up, and I really recommend that you guys give this a try. I know that salmon is maybe a little more expensive, not always a meat that we want to have on a regular basis, depending on what our finances might be. But if you want to splurge on that, or if you're in a position financially where you can have lots of those omega-3s, of lots of salmon, it's really great for a lot of people. It's a fantastic meal, and this is a really simple way of doing it where you don't have to babysit it and you can just throw it in the oven. It's really simple. You can do a large portion of this, and she always has some for lunch the next day.
Always, yeah.
It's super good. It's so moist. It's just great even as leftovers. So that's how we do the lemon salmon. You can modify everything with the seasoning to make it exactly the way that you want it. You'll just really enjoy this one, I think. It's very simple, but it's really good and really refined, especially if you use that blender hollandaise on it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. All of my links are down below as usual. We love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for being here. This is Chris Cooking Nashville and my wife, Ash Taylor. Guys, eat your meat, especially when it's salmon. Love your life. We're gonna see you right here in the kitchen for the next recipe.
You wanna know why I married you? Because it tastes like that.
Yes.
That's yummy, babe.
Yeah.
That is good. That's some good eats.